Now then, this is a story that happened recently. A mate of mine got in touch with me. Can you come and have a look at this solar system that's been installed? He was having trouble. Yeah, both of them work, come home, electric cooker goes on, yeah, batteries go flat. Yeah, okay. And then previously the grid went down, no power whatsoever. Yeah, I said that's not right. Yeah, first of all you should have power sharing, yeah, or way of throttling back how much the battery will supply, and there should be an EPS or something like that, or an ESS system where the grid goes down and you at least you power some dedicated circuits. Yeah, so I went to see him and I thought this is all a bit odd, right? So the batteries and the grid inverter were in a separate building, fairly neatly wired up and everything, so it was all right. And it was this with a 6 kilowatt battery, SPHUP series of the Growatt. Yeah. Anyway, so that top button there, you press that and hold it and you can get into the menu, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I started reading the manual, yeah, and yeah, no, it doesn't really tell you very much. Yeah, as far as it doesn't tell you the reasoning behind the 3 different modes that you can set it in, or why you would want to use separate ones, or what they actually do. It just tells you that they're there, which is a bit rubbish. Yeah, okay. So when I came home I looked at on the net and I found this Energetica India, and it described the 3 modes of load first, battery first and grid first. Okay, but it didn't go into as much detail as I would like. Yeah, the load is obviously the load, but there's no way of throttling it back. There's no way of saying, okay, run the first 500 watts and then the rest comes off the grid. Yeah, battery first, that's all to do with, I believe from what I've read, which is a bit difficult because it's not really that clear, that's all about charging off the grid. Yeah, yeah, and the third one's about supporting the grid. So yeah, I was not impressed. So I think these are, well, they're the cheapest of the cheap. Yeah, and an inexperienced solar installer might think, oh yes, we can do this and we can price it competitively, but it's not what the customer wants. But the customer doesn't really know. This is like the problem I've found in the past. When the customer doesn't quite know what they want, yeah, you're on dodgy ground. Okay, so somewhere in here, I did have it marked, there we go. There is a wiring for an ESS system or an EPS system. Basically, you've got some dedicated circuits that go through a contactor, and that contactor is on all the time. Yeah, and so therefore power comes from the batteries through that contactor to these dedicated circuits, and then if the grid goes down, that contactor drops out and that circuit is then powered by the EPS, which is like the emergency. Yeah, so you've got your lights, maybe your fridge, and maybe your the computer on your heating system, they still run, right? But this installer, not only did he fit a really poor inverter in my estimation, he didn't fit the EPS system, right? And to compound things, right, there is an app, okay, that you put on your phone, yeah, to see what's going on. But the installer has to have a code. So if you try and install the app, you have to have the installer code to be able to install it. And this installer didn't do any of that. Yeah, so really poor, real poor system, poor customer care. Yeah, just so when you're having a solar system installed, be really careful. Yeah, yeah. They're salesmen. Yeah, they've got the gift of the gab, right? But you've got to research it and ask some very cutting questions. Yeah. How much experience? What's the backup? What are your teams like? Do they have frequent skills updates, etc., etc.? Because a lot of the systems, especially in the past, were put in by inexperienced or installers that were rushing, right? And therefore, we've got to get this done in a day, lads. Yeah, rush, 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 rush. Yeah, poorly installed, poorly fitted, grid inverter in the loft, where 5 years later, because the loft is really hot, it packs up. But then that company's gone. Yeah, liquidated, gone, changed their name, all that sort of thing. All I'm saying is, be really careful. There's a lot of cowboys out there. They're on the bandwagon yet again, right? And long established companies, ones that have been running for 20 years or something, you've got a better chance. But who's to say they haven't been taken over by some get rich quick? Yeah, but if they're going to fit a Growatt, just say no chance, we'll find someone else, right? Because this whole thing about the app, you need an installer code and all that lot. What happens when you change your phone? Yeah, the fact that there is no power sharing, or so it seems. Anybody who knows the way of doing the power sharing, I'd love to hear from you, but it's not what you would call step by step. Yeah, if there is a power sharing, yeah, these people haven't identified it. This says nothing about it or throttling back in this manual, which is incredibly poor, right? Yeah. Anyway, rant over. Yeah, just be careful. Don't get one of these. They are rubbish. Comments, please. Love to hear what you have to say. Yeah. If you think that I'm missing the point somewhere, great. I want to hear it. Everybody wants to hear it. Yeah. I do not like hybrid grid inverters. You're better off, especially if you've got an existing solar system. Don't let them go, oh yes, we need to change the inverter and all this lot. No, no, no. You can keep your existing inverters and you can just fit a Victron ESS system. Yeah. Doesn't have to be as expensive. You don't have to affect anything. It runs in parallel. Yeah? And an ESS system, basically, you've got a Victron Multiplus, which is a charger and inverter, and you've got a current clamp on the grid connection, and so therefore it will divert power into the batteries when it sees it's being exported, but it's a separate unit. Right, last thing before we go, yeah. In this household, the installer had fitted the battery system to the whole of the house wiring, yeah, including some of the big loads. So, but in my estimation, the cooker and other large electrical loads should be on the grid side of the current clamp. So the current clamp sensors and tells the inverter what to do. When it's exporting power, it tells it to put it in the batteries instead. But you want to have your big loads on the grid side of that, so when you put a big load on, it doesn't come out the batteries. Yeah, an experienced installer would know that, right? But it means that you have to put another little consumer unit in, and it's a bit more time and a bit more money, and they prefer to just go, we'll do this and we'll just run for the hills. Right, catch up with you soon. Cheers for now.